Burning，我的队友，我来一个一个介绍吧。辅助位置是 MMY 和 QQQ， 呆和357加入 DK 的话是我提起的。
我觉得每个位置都是很重要的，我觉得就算是辅助你打好了也很厉害的吧。
他们是老1Home 的队员，我觉得他们是非常有天赋的选手，并且他们也很努力。1Home 对于我来说就是我职业生涯的一个起点吧。他在1Home 当中，我学会了很多。2号位中单位置 Super， 3号位 ROTK 白饭，他的性格比较外向，比较开朗。他去和一个大象表演的他参与那个大象表演吧。他躺在那里，然后大象用鼻子帮他做按摩吧。我觉得我们的一直以来的目标都是 TI，
拿个冠军回来。
徐志雷 Burning 安徽 China，
姚毅 QQQ 安徽 China，
白帆 ROTK 陕西 China，
谢俊豪 Super 广东 China，
雷声荣 MMY 广西 China。
So there we have it. DK, this is where we're going next. DK versus IG, and the 5 members are Burning, MMY, QQQ, Super, and ROTK. And I'm not sure if the translator is here from last year, or there really was a story about an elephant giving someone a massage. I don't know if you guys read that. But either way, DK, in Burning we trust, is the saying with this team. He's such a good carry player, but on an individual basis, what do we think of the DK players?
They've done some roster changes since the last TI, and I think it was really for the better of the team. This is it resembles the old eHome of 2010, if anyone remembers those.
Yeah.
They went undefeated through ESWC back in 2010 and looked to be one of the best teams to ever grace Dota. And I think this could very well be their tournament to take. I think DK is probably one of the favorites to win the tournament. Everyone is talking about Na'Vi and Alliance and them looking really strong, or IG defending their title. But DK is sort of the team that has been going in very... Sorry, Bruno's
just got a weird little cheeky face grin going on right now.
So I had all the stats in my computer, and I had my computer and my foot. So I just kicked everything. Now I'm kicking things that I should. Okay, I have to wing it because just keep talking, and when he asks me about stats, I'll have to do it by
Hey Bruno, how are stats looking for DK?
Okay, so for DK, I actually remember it. It's all about the Life Stealer and the Dragon Knight. Life Stealer, 6 games, 4-2. Dragon Knight 6 games, 5-1. These are these 2 core heroes. Sylar, Sylar, that's not from DK. Burning, favoring the Lifestealer as their best carry. And I think they are kind of trying to make this very 3 core kind of thing. The Dragon Knight is a hero that can get into the late game very strongly. The Lifestealer, another very tanky hero. And that's the thing about DK. If you get to late game with these guys, you better have a lot of damage dealing potential, otherwise you won't be able to take this down. They will grind you down. The other hero that's also good, and it's all coming back to my mind, is the Weaver. And the Weaver with these other 2, or just at least one of these 2, fits perfectly, because if you can't kill the Dragon Knight fast enough, if you can't kill the Lifestealer fast enough, the Weaver will just dance through all the other people and slowly deal damage and chip them away.
But what do you think their prelim performance was with the Weaver, Bruno?
The prelim performance was 3-1 in 4 games.
Oh, are you sure? Because it's right in front of you.
God damn, it's 4-0. Yeah, what was the Lifestealer?
I knew you weren't looking at the preview monitor.
I know, I never look at the preview.
You said it with such conviction. So now we can't believe any of the previous stats until the computer comes back up.
It will come back out, but yeah, I'm working on memory.
Sorry, Bruno, I'm sabotaging your...
How dare you?
I know.
I thought we were friends.
We are. You might have heard me say Lifestealer. Did you think I said Lifestealer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's why. Obviously, Weaver was, as you know.
The other one that was 4-0.
Oh, yeah, okay, absolutely. Brilliant. Then DK, on an individual basis, I just want to hear maybe some about the players. I like ROT. TK, I hear a lot about him with his Furion going super aggressive, his clockwork as well.
Yeah, we have no idea what ROTK will bring. Sometimes he just TPs in the middle of 5 heroes behind enemy lines and just straight up dies. But it could be seen as like Havos. I think Havos like had a Luna one time. He just like got completely caught out, died, and then they won because they had no RP. So it could be like tactical deaths. I would love to see a sniper from him. That's what we saw in the All-Star game yesterday. Maybe it was a little bit of preview of what's to come.
All right, well, we'll see if that's the case. And that's a little preview for you guys about DK. And of course, you're going to now meet for the first time at the main event the returning champions, the winners of the 2012 International. It's IG.
My name is Wong Hock Chuan. My nickname is Chuan, and I'm from Team Invictus Gaming. Joe is a good captain. He always bring us to win, and he always asks us, don't worry about game, just play, enjoy the game. Partly, he always train about the solo, how to solo, and he will go watch another player replay. Face it, we always do something good for the team, and YYF is the best heartland in the world. I think I'm a very good player, and I hardcore. I give half of my prize gift to my mom at the airport. She tell me very good, win the international. No team get double champion in a row like Navi. They almost do last year, so I want to do this year. I want to win.
Wong Hock Chuan, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
曾宏达 ，Face， 广东 China。
洛菲茨，法尔，武汉 China。
江城 ，YYF， 上海 China。
陈瑶，周，湖南 China。
Invictus Gaming, the team that won last year, and you heard Chon there say they want to win it twice in a row. No one's done it. Na'Vi came close last year, but they were defeated in the finals by this very team of Invictus Gaming. Chun, Zhao, Faith, YYF, and also Ferrari 430. So, veterans.
We could potentially see a winner bracket final between IG and Na'Vi if things goes that way, and that could be quite a spectacular game to watch.
And one of the things that I want to know, a lot of people have said, IG just aren't what they used to be. But at the same time, the players are still there. So they can, just like LGD, like a lot of people thought like, oh, okay, they might not make it all the way, but when they show you that game 1 versus Alliance, like what they're capable of skill-wise, Invictus Gaming have the skill in every single player, surely, to win the whole thing if they come together as a team.
They have the skill, they're just slower to adapt than, let's say, Alliance. Like, Alliance picks CM and they pick other heroes, but LGD China, very predictable lineup. IG, they experiment sometimes, but not to the point where they're actually comfortable with using it in important games.
Malc, Bruno, what do you think of the Invictus Gaming roster?
I don't think it's a matter of teams being worse off than last year. I think it's a matter of Alliance and Na'Vi stepping up their game and really being able to show that there's other top dogs in the game now. And Tong Fu as well. Like I was saying yesterday, I thought Tong Fu could very well go ahead and win the entire tournament.
But specifically, are IG a top dog for you?
Not the top dog this tournament, but I can still see them very well end up in top 3 and potentially go into a grand final and cause an upset. Last year, at this point in time in the tournament, I wouldn't have predicted Na'Vi to go all the way. So anything can really happen, well, all the way to the grand final.
Yep, Bruno, anything can happen. What will happen?
I think IG is on a transitional period, and that's their biggest advantage as well, because they're playing what they know how to play well, which is the Chen Shadow Demon dual lane rotation, the life stealer that always worked for them. But also they've been starting to pick some heroes from the Western playstyle as well. We have the Outworld Devourer, the Treant Protector for them, and recently the Timbersaw, which were there 2-1. And that's ROTK playing the Timbersaw. ROTK, this crazy player that can be good or just weird. Timbersaw is the perfect hero for him.
All right then, so both teams are obviously going to want to come out victorious in the first game, but of course the whole series, a lot of experience and a lot of skill across both teams, so we're about ready to send this now to the hall. So best of luck to DK and Invictus Gaming.
DK versus defending champions IG.
Greetings and And salutations, Dota fans. Welcome back to Day 2 of the International 2013. I'm AC, joined by Draskell. And I'll tell you what, man, we drew one of the best games we could have possibly hoped to draw. DK taking on IG, the defending champions, taking on the living legend that is burning and possibly his final season of Dota.
This is going to be a great best of 3, to say the least, and this one's really hard for me to call. A lot of people coming into this, they say that IG is not what it used to be. The analyst desk said that as well. They've been having some internal struggles from what I've heard. So DK, they come into this probably the favorite, but you can't ever count IG out. They were last year's champions. They've always been a fantastic team, and they're trying to pull together for the biggest event of the year. So I think this one is unpredictability for me.
Oh, it has to be. I mean, when you talk about IG, a team that for the longest time, and obviously with the win at the International 2012, it's considered the consensus best team on the planet, but they've just been underperforming since then. When you look at their past results and you look at their most recent results, it's not that they're bad, they're just not as good as they once were, or at least that's what the results would tell you. But as they said at the desk, this team has not changed. This is the exact same talented lineup that went all the way and brought home the grand prize last year. But the storyline to me of this match, Team DK, after 2012, after the International 2012, Burning announced that it would be his last go-around. This would be his last International. So we have a living legend on the verge of retirement who wants to go out a winner, and he has a team behind him that has the talent and the tenacity to make sure that that becomes a reality.
Absolutely, and DK for me, I just love watching them play. Ever since the acquisition of their two newest players, of course, they've just come up to a new level.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas DK has always been a pretty solid team. Nowadays, I feel like they're probably one of the forefront to possibly place top 3, maybe even get, the title. So I'm looking forward to this. IG, though, they get the second 2 picks here. They're going to get Lifestealer and Visage, 2 incredibly strong heroes. Obviously, if laid together, it's very tough to deal with. And when you start out with an Alchemist as first pick, even your DK, it's very common for the Chinese teams to go for Alchemist this tournament. We've seen it quite often, and a lot of the players consider it to be quite strong. However, if you lane against an Alchemist, there's typically not much you can do. Take, for instance, yesterday, we saw Dignitas Universe played Alchemist, and he got held down in lane horrendously by an aggressive tri-lane, and it puts you so far behind that it's really hard to recover. So DK, they pick up a Weaver, could potentially be seeing that Alchemist go mid instead, but IG also leave themselves very open to a lot of lanes left with their picks.
Oh, absolutely. When you see it, the Alchemist and the Weaver pick up, this strikes me as a team that wants to fight, and hell, it's the same on Invictus Gaming. You don't pick a Visage and a Lifestealer to just sit on them. These are 2 teams who want to come out, take command of the game early, and not let up at all. When you look at the bans, you can see the OD banned out, the Chen from DK. Those are lineups that they have struggled against, and we've seen that before, those heroes in particular. So, DK for the longest time had this reputation of running nothing but 4 Protect 1, and they were actually really suffering because of that. They became very predictable. Whenever you looked at their results coming into the early parts of the year, you knew something had to change, and they made a lot of adjustments, and now they're just a stable team that has a lot of different options in terms of how they want to apply pressure. They don't run so much for Protect 1. As good as Burning is in that carry position, they still look to make plays across the map, and since that time, since that transition, that's when they really came back into their own and rolled into the International as a team favorite to, if not go all the way to the Grand Finals, or if not to win the whole thing, at least make it into the top 4, top 2.
Yeah, I think for this draft, for me, if you see Invictus Gaming's bans right now, they've taken out the Batrider, they've taken out the Shadow Demon, 2 heroes that hard counter the Lifestealer, more or less. Bane is still available, but of course we can see if that's going to get taken up by DK. But the nice thing about having a Lifestealer and a Visage is if you do end up forming a tri-lane, you don't have to worry a whole lot mid-game about you being disabled at all currently. So that's something that DK is going to have to address at some point. You can always pick up things like Beastmaster, but it looks like DK are going to take out another Initiator and a Vessel for that Lifestealer to get into. They're trying to avoid giving IG the aggressive potential. You really don't want to have that happen because you know that right now IG's target is probably going to be the mid-game, at least with their first 2 picks, and we're going to see another ban out right here. And I do kind of favor IG's first 2 a tiny bit because, again, the flexibility is fantastic. Lifestealer is what a hero. That's pretty much all I can say.
Now, they're going to go ahead and grab the Timber up, so that's going to be a 3rd pick Timber Saw. And we saw how effective that hero is as a mid. And, the phrase that you use, and I've started to use in my own lexicon, is Timber Saw, he likes to joust. He's a hero who, so long as he jousts, so long as he trades damage, he's going to be just fine. He's going to get his levels, he'll get himself some farm. But he is a hero that is not the most forgiving, though. If you do mess up, if you do allow yourself to get behind, then you miss a, what was it, a Timber Chain we saw that was missed in one of the most bizarre First Bloods, a Lifestealer. First Blood fighting a Timbersaw and a one-on-one mid. He is a hero who brings you a lot. And now with the Lifestealer and the Visage out there, you have to wonder if they're thinking an offensive tri-lane. Whenever you see an Alchemist, that could be a mid Alchemist, they could try to farm it. But whenever you have a Lifestealer and a Visage, there are so many heroes that you can fit into that lineup and begin applying pressure to whatever you perceive to be the farming carry of the enemy. And of course, DK does have a weapon in Burning, a guy who knows how to manage that situation well, knows how to find his farm regardless. But if you're Invictus Gaming, maybe you're thinking that in game one, you just want to take it straight to them, attack their strength. Don't worry about their weaknesses quite yet.
Well, if you're DK, I see a problem. And honestly, the problem is that no matter where this Alchemist goes, he's probably going to experience some trouble. Because if he goes against a Timbersaw in the middle lane, he's probably not going to win. If he goes against a Lifestealer lane with the tri-lane, he's definitely not going to win.
Right.
It's going to be really hard for him either way. So maybe DK are looking to change up their lanes a bit here. They do pick up a Treant Protector, though, which should alleviate some of the problems with their early game laning. And it leads me to believe that DK are most likely going to be running in their safe lane. We've seen, I think, one aggressive tree this entire tournament.
Right.
And I believe Fnatic ran it, and it didn't end up working out too well. Primarily because Tree is a hero who is incredibly level starved. He absolutely needs the pull to survive, or at the very least try to go for some kills. And IG, they get their hands on the DK as well as the Timbersaw, so potentially they could be looking to have flexibility in their lanes as well. Probably Timbersaw not going to be seen mid here.
I'll tell you what I see so far out of Invictus Gaming is a very thick lineup. Timbersaw, Dragon Knight, Lifestealer. Those are three heroes that are damn hard to kill. Whenever you're able to get that kind of a lineup together with the Visage, he's going to give you that long-range magic damage you want and need so badly to start securing kills, to start roaming about. This is an Invictus Gaming squad that I think really just wants to put the screws to DK as quickly as they can. You see the DK pick up. It's hard to tell. I mean, at this point, most likely you would think it's going to be an offensive tri-lane and an Enigma going to be picked up. We don't get to see that hero too much anymore, but as a play-by-play commentator, can't say that breaks my heart. Always love seeing an Enigma come out. But back to Invictus, you look at their lineup. The offensive tri-lane looks all the more likely now. That would free up a solo lane for the Dragon Knight and a solo lane for the Timbersaw. You could put whichever against whichever, based on what you perceive the enemy lanes will be, and then just try to apply pressure again to that DK, and especially with the Enigma pick. I mean, Enigma's a hero who is he feels largely wasted if you don't actually put him in the jungle. He's one of the strongest, fastest junglers in the entire game, but the problem he has is coming out of that jungle to help if you are going up against an offensive tri-lane. Once he does get to 5, level 6, he can start to do that. He gives you a little bit of push and obviously a team fight monster, but there is a lot of weakness whenever he is in that jungle unless you go ahead and just sack an off lane, give him the jungle, and then still have a true tri-lane of your own to deal with that kind of aggression.
The Enigma is nice too because there aren't really a whole lot of ways to deal with Black Hole right now. Obviously you have Familiar Stuns and then you're going to have Dragon Knight, but that's pretty much it. If you're an Enigma, that's an ideal situation. And of course it's the hero that they needed to pick up because unless the Alchemist is going mech, Enigma can just as easily buy it. He can go for Initiation if he wants to, he can go for the quick blink, although against a team like IG, I don't think that's going to be the case. It's too risky to go blink and try to go for a Black Hole and turn a fight. As it stands right now, DK's biggest issue, I feel, is their lack of damage during the early game. I mean, they have a Weaver and an Alchemist who both need a pretty significant amount of farm, 1 or 2 items, to really start contributing. And then they have a Tree, which will help their lanes a little bit. And then they have an Enigma, who's either going to be spending some time in a 1v1 or he's going to be jungling. So DK, I feel, in the early game are still going to be a little bit lackluster. But if they can make it to mid-game, depending on what their last pick is going to be, I think they'll be okay. The question is, how much can they actually get out of the laning phase, considering IG's draft so far?
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, again, back to Invictus Gaming and just how thick the entire lineup feels. You're talking about a hero in Lifestealer, innate magic immunity, so he's not going to be that threatened by a Weaver. With Shikuchi damage, you're going to have a Dragon Knight who doesn't quite have that magic immunity, but with Dragon's Blood, he's certainly not going to worry about the right click that comes out of Regenerate attack. An Alchemist who maybe builds a Shadow Blade is not going to seem nearly as scary just because he innately can deal with that. Then you're going to have the Timbersaw, who's a team fight monster in and of himself. Chakram is so strong whenever it's tossed onto a team that groups up and wants to get together, and with an Enigma on team, with the Treant Protector on team, the Tree's obviously going to want to land his Overgrowth just as badly as the Enigma wants to land a Black Hole. And now we're going to see the Venge be the last pickup coming out of Invictus Gaming. But Timbersaw with adaptive armor even. That's a hero who, again, is not going to feel particularly susceptible once he gets an adequate number of levels under his belt. So DK, and this is a lineup, we see lineups like this all the time, and it's very cliche, but it's very true. They're very good at 1 or 2 things, but they have to execute both or they're going to fall behind and not be able to play from behind.
The VS pick for me from IG is actually pretty ingenious. DK's lineup, they have Concoction as a stun, and then they have Malefice as a stun during the early game. You can obviously swap whatever target you want in that situation because there's almost no follow-up in terms of a lockdown. You're going to have overgrowth eventually, but you're not going to have it really all the time, and DK end things up with the clockwork, which I think is pretty solid here for multiple reasons. But DK still, in my opinion, lacking a little bit of damage. We'll have to see how the lanes turn out. I feel as though DK are going to have a chance, again, if they make it relatively unscathed to the mid game. But IG, I do kind of have to favor their lineup here. I feel like this might be a slight draft.
No, I have to agree with you, unless DK just has some kind of... This strikes me as a lineup that when you look at it, it looks like DK has a timing window in mind. There's something very specific that they want to accomplish, and they have a set plan to do it, and that's what they're going to be revealing to us. But again, I agree with you completely. When I look at Invictus Gaming's lineup, the Venge, as you had said, a hard counter to the Enigma. You're going to be able to swap out heroes that have been caught with unstable concoction, heroes that have been caught in cogs even, etc. There's just so many ways for IG to use that Venge pickup, and hell, not to say anything about Vengeance already. Bonus damage is pretty good damage last I checked, and we're getting ready to load into the game. Game number 1 of this best of 3 and all Chinese showdown. The defending champions, Invictus Gaming, taking on Team DK. We can see both teams making their way down to the same piece of real estate. DK heading over towards their own jungle, and of course IG. That will be Ferrari, by the way, on the DK, so that will be taken mid almost certainly. We'll see. I'm not going to run through the lineups quite yet. We will wait to see if there's going to be any blood on the soil to begin, but very quickly, level 1 team fight advantage. Who do you give it to?
Definitely, I'd say IG. I mean, you can start off with Soul Assumption if you're going for a level 1 fight because you know you're going to have at least 2 stuns and an open wound, so if I were DK, I probably wouldn't want to fight this.
Here we go. Burning going to be the one that's spotted, which is, of course, quite good. He'll be able to get out of any trouble with Shikuchi. He's going to continue to walk it for the moment. He's got support behind him, IG. Going head hunting, but seeing this, we're going to almost certainly see them begin to drop some wards and get set up for the offensive tri-lane. They are going to go ahead and duck back towards the river. And yeah, it looks like that DK going to be playing this very, very cautiously as they've already rotated their heroes to the respective lanes. So as we get things started, we'll go ahead and take a run through our lineup, see who's handling who. And hang on. QQQ got to hang around. Faith drops down the ward in the easy camp. All right, so the horn does blow. Now we'll see who's handling who. We're going to have Burning, the living legend, playing on our Weaver. We're going to have Alchemist handled here in mid by Super. We're going to have the Clockwork played by ROTK. Enigma going to be handled by QQQ, as well as MMY playing on our Treant Protector. On the other side of the river, we got Faith playing on the Vengeful Spirit. We're going to have the Lifestealer farmed by Zoe, who finds himself a double damage rune. Certainly a nice start for him. Ferrari 430 going to be setting up shop against that Alchemist here in mid. That's an interesting matchup. We'll let you break that down. The other solo lane, after looks like it will actually be a solo off Timber Saw. YYF will be handling the big old saw, and Chuan playing on our Visage.
So for the 1v1 mid, it's more or less going to be the 2 heroes trading farm. Acid Spray is relatively annoying as middle because you have to essentially stay very far back, even as a melee hero, because of course you have to get really close to CS. So Ferrari is going to be a little annoyed, but he is going for a fast bottle, as of course is Super. Eventually both these heroes are just going to continue to trade farm. Probably not a whole lot that's going to be happening here. The important thing to remember is the dynamic of the heroes. Ferrari, when he hits 6, he's going to want to start applying some pressure to the tower, and because the tri-lanes have dodged in this position, DK's tri-lane doesn't really gank with their supports. They kind of sit back and they farm. You want experience on the tree as well as the Enigma and to sit inside of the jungle, whereas the supports of IG, you have Chuan playing the Visage and then Faith playing Venge. So there's a good potential for a gank on Super at some point in this game.
Yeah, very gankable middle lane on both sides, and it's really going to come down to just which team wants to start applying pressure. Obviously, DK probably going to be a little bit more satisfied with the status quo because of Living Armor, the fact that Burning's going to do just fine one-on-one against YYF because, you know, jousting a target that gets auto-healed every couple of seconds, certainly not going to be to his benefit. ROTK up in this off lane is soaking a little bit of experience against this tri-lane, but obviously IG getting farm for their Lifestealer without much of a problem. He sits atop the CS board with 9 at the moment. We will see ROTK engaged on. And no follow-up, Living Armor, plus Cogs, a bit too much to make that kill a possibility.
Living Armor is really strong against the tri-lane of IG, just in the sense that ROTK can probably get a little bit more experience than normal. They don't have any way of eating through it, so he's going to be feeling safe for the moment. And bottom lane, Burning, the Weaver versus our YYF on the Timber Saw. This is another lane where typically I would kind of call it even, but Living Armor really skews it in favor of the Weaver. As long as you don't offensively Shikuchi, which sounds weird because usually a Weaver wants to do that, the problem is when you do it, you end up eating Whirling Death, and that's not an efficient trade for the Weaver. So if Burning just plays it a little passive, controls the lane, continues to farm, I think he'll be having no problem here.
And no surprise, IG going to be the ones to pull the trigger on a mid-gank attempt. Super is playing pretty far back, right at the lip of the river. Now, it's going to be tempting for him to walk down there right now. He is continuing to play very, very safely. Chuan and Faith, looks like they're going to switch targets. Look to make something happen with the clockwork, and ROTK shoots the rocket flare. Let's see, thought maybe that would be an indication to him that not seeing them in the jungle. Here we go. Faith going to look for the magic. No, barely out of range. Just barely missed the range on Magic Missile and didn't pull the trigger. So 3 minutes in, we've had a little bit of movement, but so far some very quiet agriculture going on.
In this situation, I think that DK are probably feeling pretty happy with themselves. In the same sense that these supports in the top lane from IG can move around, DKs don't have to gank. That's kind of a double-edged sword if you think about it. Sure, they have the potential to go gank Super, but at the same time, they've had 2 situations where they try to go on RTK and they haven't been able to do it, whereas in the jungle you have Enigma just farming away and he's going to be level 4 relatively soon. The tree's able to pull, he's level 3, so his armor's leveling up. DK are getting an advantage just in the sense that their heroes are accomplishing what they're supposed to, where IG haven't really been able to capitalize on their gank potential just yet.
Both of the league carries basically sitting right on top of each other in farm. You're talking 21 for the Weaver, 20 for the, actually 21 now for the Lifestealer as well. And yeah, like I said, everyone's just kind of hanging around right now. And Burning, you take a look at the levels at the very least, you can see that a little bit of an advantage seems to be going the way of DK. You usually don't want to pull up the gold graph or the experience graph, so at least not at this stage. Usually wait till about 10 minutes. We're going to see Super have a chance at an Invis rune though. But, you know, this doesn't really surprise me really with both of these teams. DK, again, even though they did change their playstyle up quite a bit, add in some more aggression, add in some more creative flair to their mid-game and early game as opposed to just a pure 4 protect 1, they still do very much value just getting a good start on Burning because they know what he can do whenever he is given that kind of an advantage. And IG just trying to get their legs underneath him, trying to feel DK out. IG has to be feeling a lot of pressure back here on the stage in Battle Royale Hall. They know that the defending champions, they certainly want to be the first team in history to repeat. But yeah, with that comes a lot of pressure, and they also are very aware, I'm sure, of the criticisms that have been leveled against them. So they're just going to take an easy start so far.
Once the DK gets level 6 and the Timber Saw gets level 6, I think that's when we're probably going to see IG start to make their move. Because having Dragon Form to push a tower is a necessity if you're IG right now. It's no big deal to have Zoe farming top on the Lifestealer. That's pretty standard. Both heroes or both teams are trading farm for their carries, so not really much to talk about there. But it's more or less what they can actually accomplish in terms of early game towers. That's the whole point in picking a DK mid. Sure, he has a great stun. He has the capability of clearing waves. But the big thing is he has the capability of killing a tower after just one hero kill. That's the big thing. So if they can actually make that happen on Super and go for the early tower, then it opens up more of the map for these supports to actually make more happen.
We can see IG beginning to get more attention to mid here. Super is level 6, so he does have Chemical Rage. He's got 3 points in Unstable Concoction, as mentioned. And he's, you know, pretty decent fighting build so far, but IG certainly taking their time. They've got a ward on the high ground, and looks like they're, again, not really willing to pull the trigger. We are beginning to see QQQ inch on to level 6, and level 6 is most likely, as you said, going to be a point where they can really just pick and choose what they want to do. Do they want to start to push this bottom tower? Do they want to start to try and gank and force a fight that way? But yeah, right now, this is about as quiet a game as you could ask for. We seriously have not seen a single point of damage done to any hero. Well, I take it back. The Clockwork took a Magic Missile. Other than that, not a single point of damage done to any hero 6 minutes into this game.
I just want to say how smart that was by Super. Obviously, your supports, or your, in this case, I guess the offlaner is going to tell you that the supports are missing, so what he did was he dropped a spray to push the lane because he knew that Ferrari would back to go for the CS. Obviously, if he walks forward, it's way too obvious and you know and you're just going to run away. And then he took the time to walk to the left and reveal the smoke because he knew that Ferrari wouldn't be close enough to gank him. Just some really next-level ass sprays coming out from this mid.
And so far, taking a look back at the farm, 44 CS now. The lead Very, very thin one for Zoe, but still sitting at top. He's got 19 denies, not that it matters. He's not really being contested all that much. The clock has did hit level 4.5. He has been soaking what experience he can, but for the most part, just kind of bouncing around. And now QQQ has moved out away from the jungle. Might want to hook up with his Clockwork. Again, level 4.5 there. He is level 6, has his black hole, trying to avoid being detected. The tri-lane of IG has yet to sense anything is off, obviously, completely uncontesting the Enigma, but Ferrari now going to make his way up the top, and we'll see what he wants to do. He's got he's at level 7, has his Elder Dragon form. Looks like they're just going to show up here and push. They've got a double wave already.
I like this choice because Ferrari knew that they weren't going to get the gank on mid. DK just weren't giving them the opening. So now they're just going to make the transition to mid as well with the Enigma, but YYF is already here. He's got Chakram. They're going to be able to counter push really well. I love this decision from IG. They forced the early glyph, and the thing about this is because YYF's mid, they have no way of counter pressuring at all. They're going to send a couple of people top and see if they can potentially defend this, but I think it's actually too late of a reaction. I don't think they can do anything to save this tier 1. And IG, with a really nice rotation, they managed to get the first tower of the game.
Down at bottom, Burning, as good of a start as he's had. The tower relatively unscathed. They do have a glyph if they want to come down and contest this. They are going to let it take a few points of damage. One would think that if they were going to go, they'd certainly go right now. But yeah, they are going to glyph it. But so far, no real movement. They've got a lot of heroes hanging around with teleport scrolls, but no one willing to go and do anything about it. Meanwhile, in mid, QQQ and Super. So yeah, that's fine. You're not going to go there. How about you don't come here either? Finally, we see YYF head over, and they just give away the bottom tier 1, though.
Yeah, the bottom tier 1 goes down. I don't think that, YYF didn't have a TP, so that's pretty much why the tower died. I thought that he was going to eventually be able to get there in time, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. The mid tier 1 actually takes a reasonable amount of damage as well, so even though IG, with a really smart move, they end up getting 1 paid back to them by DK. And the thing about DK's lineup is they're having a lot of time to let things fall into place for them. They want ROTK to hit level 6 especially. You need hookshot against IG because you want to stop the lifestealer from getting in. Ideally, the DK would be a nice target to go on as well, just to prevent them from getting things done during the team fight. But I mean, this Enigma's level 7. He's been completely untouched during the early game. That is exactly the kind of start that you want, and he's even going for the straight BKB. So what we're likely to see is the Alchemist going for the mechanism in this case, so Super is going to pick that up. And that way with BKB, he doesn't have to worry about anything stopping that black hole. They can start to slow siege towers if they want on the back of tree armor, acid spray, and the threat of initiation from a hook.
IG with Faith and Ferrari now hooked up here in mid. And waiting to see if they're exactly going to break this laning phase down. I agree with you, by the way, that IG is basically giving DK everything they wanted. You know, a lineup like this that has that very important timing window, that very important execution, threshold of execution is probably the best way to put it. And then you give them everything they want in terms of getting Burning his farm. And yes, you got your Lifestealer farmed up, but, you know, as good as that is, you're still just allowing DK an advantage, especially with the Treant Protector on team. I mean, with the Tree on team, allowing him to just slowly soak experience. He's almost level 6 now. He's got 3 points in the living armor. This is honestly, this has become a bit of a rarity. Most Treant Protectors take much longer. Hang on, Ferrari. So he's spotted out by QQQ, but ducks up to the north. To be honest, that was a little bit of a slow reaction from QQQ.
Yeah, it's unfortunate RTK wasn't 6 because they definitely would have been able to catch him there. It just goes to show how good of a job IG did in zoning out a living armored Clockwork with a tri-lane that's not even necessarily that good at killing a Clockwork in the first place. So he's going to be trying to find his level 6 sometime soon, and they need that because he's their only initiator and he doesn't have it. So the Enigma is going to continue to be able to do his thing. The tree now has overgrowth, and that's a pretty big deal because the next time that IG want to try to pressure a tower, that support right now is 2 levels higher than Faith is right now, and the Visage is going to hit 6 here just now, so he's finally caught up a little bit. But overall, DK, they're staying marginally ahead, and by marginally I mean very, very small portion ahead. But I still think that's okay for them. As long as they're not behind against IG's lineup, I think they're doing well.
Couldn't agree more. When you start to look at the items, it looks like what DK is just going to worry about for the most part is going to be magic damage. Like you said, they're getting the Enigma, his BKB, Burning with an Ogre Club already picked up. He's going to be looking for an early BKB. ROTK still looking for level 6. Once he gets a hook, it'll be a totally different complexion in this game. Just because they're going to be able to start to roam around in packs of 2 or 3. Hell, they can even start to go as 5 if they really want to. But, you know, my question is how long they're going to end up just leaving Burning to farm. I mean, obviously the BKB is going to be the item of choice. He needs about another 2,100 gold, give or take, to get that item up. So I'm pretty sure they're going to try to create space for him with a little bit of aggression. But once he gets that BKB, it wouldn't surprise me at all if DK really just tried to just rip map control away from IG. As you had mentioned, I mean, IG is a team that can push and can engage extremely well under towers if they are able to get all of their guns forward. What matters, though, is if DK can catch them at a side angle, if DK can just knock them out of that game plan and not allow these big tanky heroes, the Timbersaw, the DK, and the Lifestealer to really reach that point of maturation where they just have 1 or 2 core items and all of a sudden they feel unkillable. The phase boot's already done on Zoe, by the way, and he already has up his Helm of Iron Will as well. Looks like he's got his whole armlet already done.
Armlet's going to be a pretty huge deal. That's the big difference between IG's lineup and DK, where IG have a significant portion of damage output between the Armlet and the Lifestealer, the Timbersaw, of course, being able to burst up there with some of the best. So I feel as though DK rushing the BKB on the Weaver is a choice that I think Burning has to make just so he can live. But at the same time, that's what you're relying on things like Tree, the Enigma, and the Clockwork for. You know, you want them to be standing in the forefront. This Alchemist is even buying a mech. Buying a BKB just makes it so you're not going to have that much damage output anytime soon. Even though Super has gone for the max spray and concoction build, I feel like their damage output is going to be lacking at least for a little while longer.
Yeah, I kind of had the same kind of wonder when I saw this. I mean, there is a decent amount of magic damage on the side of IG, but not an overwhelming amount of it. It's, again, the single target DPS that you're going to get out of the LS, and of course the power of the DK once he uses Elder Dragon form, and especially once he hits level 11, which he's not really far from now, about 1.5 levels. He is going to be going with the Shadow Blade build. I don't think there's any real surprise there, because when you look at DK, their magic damage spam, and we talked about this, they just have ways of dealing with it, and more importantly, they're just lacking so heavily in follow-up damage, and that's exactly why this BKB choice is a little bit worrisome. I mean, I think I like the way you put it. He just wants to live, so he needs it. But with him not doing damage, the Alchemist is going to be building the mechanism, so he's not going to be doing all that much damage. You hit a black hole, you hit a cog, you get an overgrowth, fine. What do you do after that? Whenever you have a magic immune Lifestealer who's just gnawing on your supports, what do you do? Whenever you have a DK who is innately tanky and hard to track down, and the Visage who's pouring out the damage every time there's a team fight. So DK with a lot of questions to answer, and IG might be putting the question mark to him a little bit earlier here as we have a smoke in mid.
And both teams just not willing to give anything away at all. I mean, it's 14 minutes in and we haven't even seen a kill. Not even one. And ROTK was the only person, I think, besides Super who was in any risk of dying, and his positioning, of course, was really good. He didn't end up getting caught out, and the movement so far from both teams just very, very cautious. They don't want to give anything away for free. Ferrari pops the ultimate mid. They're going to be trying to pressure this Tier 1 tower, and the nice thing about Dragon Form is it actually does eat away living armor, so they should be able to pressure this enough to the point to force DK to react. And there's no BKB, of course, on this Enigma just yet. They're going to throw the tree invis on him, though, so if they don't put a sentry on the high ground, it could be bad for them.
Here we go, QQQ, looking for a target, poked his nose out, there's the hook, caught a familiar, trying to do what he can, Ferrari's locked down, black hole, gonna catch, everyone caught that was down in the river, and now there's a swap from Faith, ends up giving himself up. That's going to be, finally, we get some kills on the board. Make it 2-1. DK comes up, check that. Make it 3-1. And YYF's got a passenger trying to track down Burning. Burning has time lapse. He's under cover of an invis and not willing to give up too much right now for good reason. There's Super and QQQ right behind him. YY, there they go. Going to try to engage on the Enigma. Cleaned up with Chakram. Burning. Going to be able to make it a 1-for-1 trade, however, and now Zoe pulling back out of that situation. Ate a leech seed. Burning pursues him out. Burning playing very aggressive right now. And we're going to have the TP reaction in ROTK. Caught with the Chakram. He is going to be locked down. And throws down the cogs. YYF caught inside. Will they get him? Soul Assumption puts another kill on the board. And give it to IG. So a bit of a reaction. DK overstaying their welcome just a little bit. 4-3 the result.
What a black hole, man. Like, honestly, what a black hole. The funny part about that, too, was the concoction came in, instantly killed the familiars. That was actually pretty funny when that happened. So the familiars blocked the hook shot. The fight started very well for DK. They probably overcommitted a tiny bit, and Faith went into suicide for the Clockwork, which honestly is okay if you're a support, so not really too much loss for him. But no one really gained a whole lot from that. It was a pretty even exchange. The tower mid, of course, for DK is going to be feeling a lot better than IG's just because of the fact that they have a treant. So in that sense, I feel like DK pull out moderately ahead, and of course, it gives the the farmers on DK more time to actually get the items that they need. And Burning, of course, walking away from that fight with 2 kills. He's going to be able to actually get his BKB soon. And I think that every time Black Hole is up, or even without it, as DK are grouping up mid here as 5, they just want to push themselves.
Not just Burning, but the Alchemist as well. So you have your 1 and your 2 coming out of that in good shape. And the quicker they can get this Alchemist transition to a damage-dealing role, the better it's going to be for everyone involved, at least on the side of DK and their fan base. They just need more follow-up damage. They need some sustained damage. And Burning, not going to give them that, or at least not give them much of it. As nice as the magic damage is from Shikuchi, it's just not enough to carry a fight after a big black hole or after a well-shot hook and cogs, so on and so forth. But IG continues to play really, really passively. And it looks like they just want a core set of items before they decide to go fighting. I mean, Ferrari obviously looking for that Shadow Blade. Looks like Chuan will be building our mechanism. He's already got the buckler complete. And of course, Faith just doing the support thing. Zoe has 1,700 gold to go with that armlet. He could go ahead and finish his drums up right about now if he wants to. He's got armlet phase boots already completed. And the Timber Saw. Sitting on arc boots right now and just looking for his next big item. And Timber, one of those heroes that, generally speaking, he does need at least one kind of a health or mana item. He is just, yep, there you go, point booster, a perfect example. Just needs something to help his mana pool issue shore up.
I gotta say, the more I think about it, DK's lineup, it just makes so much sense in so many ways. Because normally when you play against the Lifestealer DK lineup, one of the first priorities is going for towers. Clearly they weren't able to get their hands on the Chen because it was banned. But Clockwork, especially, Treant to an extent, an Alchemist spray because he was mid. Every Alchemist goes max spray. It's so good at delaying the push, and you have a Treant to recover whenever IG's push actually fails. The lineup of IG is meant to get map control, but it just can't because DK are defending every single tower on the map. So unless IG find a good fight and go for the pick and push, eventually I think DK are going to get to the point where Burning is going to get another item, and Super is going to continue to get his farm. The BKB is going to be done soon on this Enigma, and there's going to be a point in the game where even with the Lifestealer against Treant, it's just not that good, and looks like Hookshot's going to be off the mark in middle lane, so Faith is going to be alive for the moment, but I really got to favor DK at the moment.
Ferrari with a DD, he's got a passenger, a Dragon Rider indeed, and let's see if they can catch Burning. This would be a huge kill for them. Having the Lifestealer there for the burst, there it is, they're going to jump out on him, try to burst him down and get him. Didn't even need the soul assumption from Chuan, and that's what we were talking about, our concerns with this team. We saw right there just how much damage output IG can have, and that's a fairly tanked up Weaver. That's a Weaver who was almost done with his BKB. Now here in mid, Faith's going to be caught with an unstable concoction. He's down to half health, make it a quarter. Just going to be slowly melting, and MMY there. One more swipe, Clockwork actually, with the kill secure. The rocket, well shot, gets the job done from bottom lane, and ROTK adds 1 to the board. It's going to be 5-4 now as we roll towards 20 minutes. We can see the gold lead is squarely in favor of DK right now, largely just a farm advantage. They've done a decent job in the pushing and such. Obviously, the kill lead a big part of that. But again, you just can't help but think IG has this lineup that is just a slumbering giant ready to awaken whenever they finally decide to start moving across the river.
Well, the unfortunate truth is for IG, they got a gank on Burning, sure, but what did that gank give them? I mean, they just killed the hero, and he had his BKB done by the time they went and killed him, and they didn't apply any pressure to the tier 1 in the safe lane. So IG more or less just ganking for the sake of ganking. Sure, holding down the carry is nice, but they want to be accomplishing more than that at the moment. And not only that, but they're dire, and they haven't been able to do anything like Roshan just because of the fact that DK has been doing a very good job at keeping the wards up. They've been dewarding as well, so they have full vision of the pit the entire time. They're just not letting IG do anything that they want to right now, so I still think that DK is in a pretty good position here. The Lifestealer on IG is incredibly farm still, which is great, but with a Black Hole, a Clockwork, and Tree, even if you do end up sticking a target and the Tree is living armoring on point, it's going to be very difficult to actually get any real damage done with him, and the BKB is now done on Enigma, so DK, they smoke up. I think this is a good time to potentially go for the tier 1 in the safe lane.
IG, suddenly Venge takes on a brand new level of importance. Able to swap through BKB, one of the few reliable ways IG has of knocking him out of the black hole channel, especially now that it's BKB, really the only way they have to knock him out of it when he is magic immune. They thought about taking a Roche. Looks like Zoe's just going to bail, and they're going to try to make DK execute into them. So IG beginning to take a much more defensive posture.
It makes sense, though. If you look at DK's team fight, this is a really good high for them. Like, they have BKB, done on the Enigma. They have Super with a Shadow Blade, with a Mechanism, additional 1100 gold. ROTK can initiate with a Force Staff in addition to his Bracers, so he can actually go in and get out at the same time. And if he manages to get the Lifestealer, how is he going to do anything during the team fight? I mean, it's just so difficult right now for IG to take a fight and feel confident in it. And one of the fallbacks of being dire with the kind of lineup that they have is being able to get Roshan. That's actually been a really common theme in the tournament. Granted, a lot of those lineups get Chen, and IG weren't able to get it. It's still something that you want to be able to do if you ever get into one of these situations. But again, DK just not giving them the opportunity. They're perfectly fine with being grouped up right now and defending their tier 1s because, again, IG is meant to have control, and they just can't get it.
Sanj done on Zoe, so he is going the SNY build. Still has 1,700 gold on him, so not far away from that SNY. YYF with 1,000 gold on top of his point booster. And Ferrari. But as of right now, nothing but a Bracer, a Shadow Blade, and his Treads, of course. But IG, honestly, they're beginning to seem like a team that is really feeling some urgency, and they should. DK is just quietly denying them any kind of an opening. I mean, you always talk about the best teams never give you openings, they never make mistakes, so on and so forth. But what we're really seeing here as a team that is excellent in their own right is being confounded at absolutely every turn, because no matter what they try to accomplish, even if they do accomplish it, going back to that gank on Burning, like you said, what did they get out of it? It's not like they slowed Burning down that much. He lost a smidgen of gold, but he made that back up pretty quickly when he was left to free farm. But that could be changing now as DK has 3 in the woods and Ferrari +1. RSVP'd for a little bit of trouble. IG moving down the lane. And we're going to have probably our first major team fight. Now, there is one missing. Super is not going to be there for this. Very important that he's not, or if he is, he may be tardy to the party. He is carrying the Mechanism, but it looks like IG again going to pull back at least for a little while and regroup.
This is a really tough position for IG. How do you push into Overgrowth and Black Hole and a Clockwork when you have your 2 core are melee heroes, essentially? Sure, DK can ulti, but it's not really going to help you if you're stuck inside a cog. So I do feel as though DK feel a bit impregnable at the moment. That was pretty much the word I would use. And Super is actually going to see, wow, what a Shadow Blade right there from Super. Could have very easily died there.
And DK continuing to defend this bottom tower. Ferrari, now this is a concern too. Ferrari and Zoe have been spending a lot of time just wandering around right now. They can't seem to get anything accomplished, and more importantly, they haven't been farming. They haven't been absorbing much experience at all. And, you know, every moment that goes by is a little bit more time for Burning to mature, a little bit more time for that Alchemist. Hang on, we're going to have Zoe engaged upon. There's going to be a hook that catches Ferrari as well. Black Hole going to be there just catching Zoe, though. YYF actually hooked into it. Now he's in trouble. Burning with his BKB laying into Faith. He's taking a lot of damage. We'll time lapse out of it, though. And we're going to see the rest of IG pulling back. Buyback out of the Lifestealer as he wants to re-engage. We're going to have the Dragon Tail on ROTK. He's blown up. Now Zoe's there, but Overgrowth slows him down. MMY dragging up the back end and will be blown up by the Visage. Ferrari now catches Burning, but not going to push it any further than that. Here we go. Super throws out an unstable concoction and nails Venge. And she was waiting around the river just in range, showing off the Shadow Blade. Super adds another one to the board, make it 8-6 now. And again, IG just feels confounded.
Not only that, but a buyback too on a Lifestealer. You do not want to have to buy back on that hero. They don't get the tower. The Treant's going to be alive shortly, which means that mid tower is going to be back to full health in short order. They still can't go for Roshan because the Lifestealer is too low on health. There's just nothing that IG are getting here. I mean, they still have really good team fight if they can initiate properly. But what form of initiation do they really have? They have the Timber Saw, and YYF Timber Chained into a Black Hole, which is interesting, but there's not really a whole lot of ways they have to force the fight. What IG's team is meant to do is walk to the tower and force the other team to come to you. But the thing is, DK can actually do that very well, and there's not a whole lot of method that IG currently have to stop it. So right now, they're going to try to go for a Roshan. Obviously, DK know about this. We'll see if they're going to go. There's no Black Hole, though, for about 90 seconds.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point I was going to make. Is if there's one thing IG can rely on, it's that QQQ is a slave to his cooldown. He is not going to be contributing a ton when that Black Hole is on cooldown, and this is the time if they want to chance it. However, they're already up. No, beautiful hook! Got everyone, and Chuan Ferrari in trouble. Black Hole caught the back end of it as well. IG just eating damage from every angle. They have to try to retreat to the high ground, and using the DK illusion to block out DK, the actual Dragon Knight illusion to block out DK's pursuit, but 9-7, and they come away once again losing the lifestealer. And as you mentioned, that means in the last 2-3 minutes alone, he's died, bought back, and died again, and not just died, but died and gotten very little for it. The only kill given away, the clockwork there.
And definitely a worthy trade. Poor R2K like disintegrated when he was inside of those cogs because of the Timber Chain combo, but still, IG not really able to do a whole lot, and the Lifestealer is not up for another 15 seconds. Everyone is back on the side of DK. If they want to just bait the fight, I'm pretty sure they can do so with ease.
It looks like that's what they're up to. QQQ's going to have his black hole in 25 seconds. We see the Chakram thrown in on Super. Here we go. They're going to engage. Beautiful Timber Chain. Does good damage. Now they're going to re-engage. YYF caught out on the high ground. And looks like he will be cleaned up. He basically just got left to die. His team just said, sorry, buddy. You went, and we weren't ready. Or something happened. Zoe up there as well. What another amazing hook out of ROTK, and this time he gets away to safety. Zoe trapped in. Will they pursue him out? They will. Unstable concoction after the rage wears off, and Burning on a killing spree in the Roche pit. The battle goes on in a black hole. Gonna get Faith. That's 4 down now for IG. Chuan can do nothing but retreat as he watches DK blow this game wide open and claim the first Aegis.
Unbelievable fights coming out of DK. Honestly, I don't know why IG decided to commit to going into the pit for the clockwork. Like, how was that worth it for them? They sent 2 people in there in a position where it was very hard to retreat, to go for somebody who essentially had nothing left. Like, he didn't have hookshot, he had already force-staffed. They go inside of the pit to suicide for an offlaner? I mean, I don't really understand that thought process. But regardless, DK looking to be in a fantastic position. Super's now got the plate mail. He's working his way towards the Assault Cuirass. The Tier 2 mid is going to die. And how often this tournament have we seen a team with a DK and a Lifestealer? Their opposition still has Tier 1 mid and their Tier 1 safe lane still standing at 28 minutes.
Ban the Tree 2013. Been telling you forever, man. Tree and Protector pretty good at keeping buildings alive. We're going to see the Blink Dagger now picked up on Enigma. QQQ's lethality going through the roof. But I'll tell you what's more important here. The transition has been made by DK. That Desolator pickup on Burning, and as you mentioned, the Alchemist has finally made that transition. He had his Shadow Blade up for a while, but now that he's beginning to tank up, that's really the 3 essential elements to a well-played Alchemist played out of that mid position. Get the mechanism up, that helps tank you a little bit, gives you survivability. Get a damage item up, which he has in the phase boots and in the Shadow Blade, and now just getting a general utility item that not only makes him more difficult to kill, but is going to up his damage output. However, IG, where they're going to swap Super back. And here we go. Burning's there. Another good hook. Going to catch YYF. Super still left alone, and he will be force-staffed out. And Ferrari going to end up dying to Burning, and Burning's not done. He's going to chase down Faith. Couple of auto attacks, a double kill, and a DD, because you know why not? When it rains, it pours. And Burning absolutely pouring it on IG here in Game 1.
Ever since he picked up that Desolator, the damage output just goes through the roof. That's the one nice thing about playing Weaver against IG's lineup, is if you do get the time and you're able to get up that BKB, the Lifestealer and the DK don't have the capability of actually killing you anymore. It's pretty much impossible, and your damage output is still going to be tremendous, and they're going to find Zoe bottom.
Down at bottom, we can see Zoe caught out. He's going to try to rage through it. There's the Overgrowth used. Going to try to TP away. Chakram's there, and no. No stun. Came very close. YYF using the Timber Chain to get himself back to safety. In the meantime, though, Burning not only finding his farm, split pushing like all hell, doing what a Weaver does and making it impossible to control your own map. But yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about. The big problem DK's lineup had was damage. Damage output once IG got up their core items. But really, IG has just been completely turned away at every opportunity. And now that that transition has been made, Burning gives you the right click you need. The Alchemist giving you the right click you need. And he just split pushed down to Tier 2 like it wasn't even there.
Now, once Weaver gets even 1 or 2 damage items, it becomes so difficult to deal with. And because he has the Aegis, he can split push all day. I mean, how do IG initiate on him without a Shadow Blade? And even if they kill him once, he'll just respawn and be able to run away no matter what. So IG are kind of stuck right now. I mean, what do you do? How do you start a fight and potentially win it against how overfarmed DK are at the moment? Earlier in the game, it was pretty consistent up until just before the 15-minute mark, and that's when DK started getting way out of control.
Zoe going to be caught with the unstable concoction. The damage is there, and he's blown up. Tier 2 not going to stand for long. Backdoor protection or not, they got this under control. Down it goes. And in a matter of minutes, every building on IG's side of the river, save for the racks and the Tier 3s, has become rubble. IG trying to hold the line. Burning willing to tank through this, has time lapse, and will certainly use it to get himself out of trouble. QQQ with that blink dagger up, with the BKB up. They have to be so careful in their defense here. And with DK feeling up, they're going to go ahead and engage, and that could be a great black hole if they want to go for it. There's the dust that goes off. QQQ looking for a target. We're going to see a stun on Burning and Super. Both are going to be able to get one kill. And really right now, it just, IG feels completely impotent. They can't even begin to take these fights. Ferrari going to be caught in the cogs. ROTK taking some damage. Burning's there as well. There's going to be a swap and a black hole. Got 3. And gonna be the death of not just the tier 3, but our first set of racks, as DK is looking like they're ready to put a cherry on top of one of the most dominating performances. It's been a 32-minute game, but IG felt like they never had a chance, and they call it. Invictus Gaming, our defending champions, falls to Team DK. More to the point, I'm not even going to say falls. They got knocked down by Team DK.
Unbelievable performance from DK. I'll be the first to admit, I thought IG's draft was pretty good. I even gave them a slight edge, but it came very apparent very quickly that IG just had an incredibly hard time moving around the map. They just couldn't find any kills, and with that kind of a strategy, we were talking about the DK hitting 6, using his ult to go for the tower. He just never had the opportunity to really do what DK does, and by that point in the game, Burning already had his BKB. The fight middle, when he got the 4-man black hole, that's pretty much where it all went south.